Happy Friday and welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. The big news of the day, the January 6th commission designed to attack President Trump and to allow the press to focus on his imagined slights while ignoring real damage being done by Joe Biden has failed in the United States Senate. The vote was 54-35 in favor of the ill-conceived commission. 60 votes were needed to break a GOP filibuster. Several Republicans voted with socialists for the creation of a commission that would likely usher in an era of perpetual Democrat control of government and put the surrender caucus in charge of the GOP. Senators Collins, Cassidy, Murkowski, Sass, Romney, and Portman voted with socialists who wanted to focus on one day of riots and ignore over a year and a half of continued left-wing riots. 11 senators were absent for the vote, including a few of the Republicans who voted to impeach President Trump. Even though the initiative was defeated, every conservative should be appalled at the number of Republicans who reject conservative constitutional values and have cast their lot with Socialist Democrats. In other words, members of the GOP who prize their friendships with degenerate Democrats rather than keeping faith with their constituents. Given this vote, we thought we'd remind the Surrender Caucus just who they are selling out their voters to. An examination of Socialist Democrats' values, a refresher course in left-wing extremism in tonight's preamble. We begin in the socialist-dominated government-run schools. So-called Party of Science has placed an elementary school physical education teacher in Virginia on leave after he took a stand for science. Tanner Cross simply said he would not affirm that a biological boy can be a girl and vice versa. In Michigan, a high school valedictorian, Elizabeth Turner, was told that her speech to her classmates was, quote, inappropriate. Now, was Elizabeth using swear words? Was she calling America a systemically racist country? Oh, they would have loved that. Was the valedictorian bashing white people? No. She talked about God, specifically Jesus Christ. The offending passage of her speech was as follows. For me, my future hope in my relationship with Christ. By trusting in Him and choosing to live a life dedicated to bringing His kingdom glory, I can be confident that I am living a life with purpose and meaning. My identity is found by what God says, and who I want to become is laid out in Scripture, end quote. The left-wing principal at Hillsdale High School, Amy Goldsmith, wrote the following in her prohibition of the mention of God. You are representing the school in the speech, not using the podium as your public forum. These are your strong beliefs, but they are not appropriate for a speech in a public setting, huh? I know this will frustrate you, but we have to be mindful of it. This leftist is somehow under the impression that academic achievement somehow makes our kids employees of the state and they lose their First Amendment protections. Only a letter from First Liberty convinced the left-wing principal to reverse course on this. But this is the anti-free speech, anti-God environment our government-run schools have created at the behest of Socialist Democrats. The same party that Senators Collins, Cassidy, Murkowski, Sass, Romney, and Portman just sided with against the American people. As you know, socialists have been on a jihad against our nation's police officers and have been promoting a violent society absent of law and order. But sensing that they have made converts of weak and feckless Republicans, the devolving Democrats are showing their true colors. 3 socialist lawmakers hosted a forum on May 10th. The forum included several convicted cop killers. The Democrats heaped praise on these killers and hailed them as political prisoners. One of the Democrats' dignitaries was a former Black Panther implicated in the torture of another human being, a police informant. Socialist Congressperson Steve Cohen, Bobby Rush, and Barbara Lee praised Mumia Abu Jamal, Mutulu Shakur H. Rap Brown, and other Black liberationists, who are all serving life sentences for killing police officers. And Senators Collins, Cassidy, Murkowski, Sass, Romney, and Portman couldn't wait to cast their lot with these pieces of pond scum. The Daily Caller and Judicial Watch are suing the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. The mayor of the 3rd largest city in America brazenly declared that she would not provide interviews to white reporters, only Black and brown reporters. Lightfoot stands accused of violating a white person's reporters' First Amendment rights and his equal to protection under the 14th Amendment. Salcedo's show also believes Lightfoot violated the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination based on race. Lastly, it was revealed this week that Joe Biden killed a Trump-era investigation into China's culpability in the creation of the China virus and their role in creating the worldwide pandemic that has allegedly killed millions. Once he was caught, Biden reversed course on his prohibition of an American-led investigation. He's now calling for a 90-day review. When Biden was asked if he'd reveal these results of this review to the American people, he said this.
If I knew that, I wouldn't ask for a 90-day review. I don't know.
Will you pledge to release it in full? Will you pledge to release the report in full after 90 days?
Yes, that's unless there's something I'm unaware of.
I see. He's only releasing it so long as it contains what he thinks should be in it. What if it implicates his pals in communist China? Now, given his answer there, can we safely assume he'll hold back the results to protect Xi Jinping and his murderous slaver regime? If Biden does continue his pattern of putting foreigners first, we can all rest assured that 35 Republicans in the House and Senators Collins, Cassidy, Murkowski, Sass, Romney, and Portman will be there to show their support for Biden's debauchery, because that's what the Surrender Caucus does. As we have stated in the past, today's GOP is a rudderless, valueless party. They have core values articulated in their platform, but many of their members ignore those conservative planks. An alarming number of GOP senators and congressmen voted to ignore a year and a half of left-wing riots and violence, a wave of anti-Semitism, covering up for China, and Democrat attacks on our cops in an effort to deliver a political gift to socialists on the January 6th riot. A disturbing number of Republicans have abandoned the rule of law and are surrendering to partisan investigations in an effort to punish their own voters for daring to support an America First agenda championed by President Trump. Their continued betrayal of voters is perplexing and should not be rewarded. The only transformational American who could have delivered Americans from this surrender of American values is President Trump. Sadly, he's seen fit not to create the Constitutional Patriot Party, to give 70% of Republicans and 15% of Democrats, roughly, who are not socialists, a party that reflects our values. Socialist Democrats have abandoned the American way of life. Americans deserve an alternative to Democrat socialists. But as Senators Collins, Cassidy, Murkowski, Sass, Romney, and Portman have demonstrated, we don't have an alternative. So for now, we'll have to watch our republic slowly die from one-party rule under the guise of a two-party system.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest-growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.